Thanks for being here with us
Good to see
today,
you.
Secretary. And before I start, I wanted to thank you and your staff for the support that you've been giving, specifically in my district, for the EHV1 virus, which is an equine herpes virus that has taken, well, it's put a certain farm under quarantine for months, which, you know, unless you really understand what that means here, the owners cannot even enter the barn since before Christmas to see their horses, and we've lost a number of horses. This is an unusual strain, a neurological strain, and your department has been there. It's still frustrating for the owners of the farm and the owners of the horses, but thanks. It draws to mind just how important it is to continue funding for things like that. We talk about the avian flu, yet here's something that's, you know, literally wiping out a farm and has some major consequences, and we're doing our best to keep it quarantined.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thanks to you for facilitating and helping us sort of get to the right folks locally and keeping the local community focused on that problem, because there wasn't a full appreciation of just how contagious the virus was and the importance of basic biosecurity, which we talk about, and high-path AI. Here was a case on this particular equine boarding operation, and it was really complex because there were 52 horses, 37 owners, 7 different vet practices that had access to this particular farm. So when you start looking at the trace back, trace forward, number of horses, absolutely amazing. And credit to the local vets, but certainly Dr. Simeone from our staff and Dr. Schultz. So thank you for your support there.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just want to move on a second. We've just heard about, you know, the governor's support for agriculture, and actions speak louder than words. I think the point of these whole hearings is not just about actions and words, but really about the dollars. And this is one of the more crowded hearings that we've had, and one of the hearings that's drawn an awful lot of email responses to me. In fact, I've got a number of constituents up today. I offered one young man who's had the pleasure of meeting you before, not through Del Val, but I offered if he had a specific question he wanted me to ask, and if you don't mind, I'm going to give this on behalf of Patrick Meadows. Without the after-school and education programs like 4-H, how will the hundreds of thousands of youth who currently participate in youth developmental programs throughout the Penn State Extension continue to better themselves in the Commonwealth? And I'm going to rephrase that bit about better themselves and say continue to learn about the importance of the important core values that 4-H teaches, and the stewardship of our land, our water, our animals, and even things that go beyond in terms of personal respect, financial management, and different crafts that the 4-H offers. They're concerned. Their parents are concerned.
Yeah, and a fair concern. I mean, having been a 4-H leader for 10 years and coming out of a family that's committed to FFA and 4-H, and having 2 sons in 4-H, I mean, I get it. I mean, I can pick these kids out. I mean, because they've got those basic instincts of extending a hand and a smile and engaging. All of that is part of what we want, and certainly makes the case for 4-H generally, but also the importance of getting this budget issue resolved. I mean, we don't want to lose that, right? I've said many times that this 4-H issue in the College of Ag discussion is like, watching a child suffer, right? It's one of your own children. I mean, it is so important to us that we need to have some resolution to it. So we don't want to lose that. There is not a substitute for it, by the way, right? There's really not. It's that important to us.
And I agree with you. And what I found with my district, and I'm in Bucks County, and you were gracious to come down for a town hall recently with farmers. We had well over 100 people there. Those kids getting involved in 4-H aren't necessarily the same kids that want to be on the football field or the soccer field or in a debate club. They're drawn to the land. They want to continue that, and that's where they're at home. And the devastation that this has to not have the funding, I really can't quantify. I'm going to take that funding question over to your GGO line. I know I sent you a letter asking about, I'm not going to ask you for those answers now. I sent them in writing for a purpose so I could analyze them. But it's my hope that once we take a look at your GGO and drill down, that we'll be able to get a sense of the health benefits and the increases there, the pension benefits and those increases there. In fact, after you left the meeting a couple of weeks, and I wish you had stayed, because we had 100 farmers in the room. They were passionate about their concerns with the growing pension costs, not just in your department, but all over Pennsylvania. And they said, Marguerite, we could lose $200,000 in what we put in our fields in a week. And, no one's out there to help bail us out. And they really feel a frustration with regard to what's been our inability to try and rein in what's an unsustainable system. So I appreciate your taking a look at the dependent eligibility. You have something to say?
I would just say, we received your letter, have run those numbers, working with the budget office, and we'll have that for you. Thanks for the question.
Okay, and we're talking about real live programs out there like 4-H. They're not having their dollars. How do I explain then an increase in money for the technology modernization? What are you using that for when we have kids who are just looking to get into the core basics of agriculture?
Yeah, so it's threads of previous questions and responses, but the challenge we have twofold. One is just the reduction of 108 staff and the pressure that is placed on the staff that remain. Two, this giving back of things from local governments has really caused us, again, without adding staff, to look at how do you extend the human capital you have today to cover the number of devices in counties. And the only way you can do that is through some efficiencies of technology.
Okay.
And a lot of what was at the department, quite frankly, is 10 years old. I mean, there's some basic operation stuff within the infrastructure there that you couldn't, even if you wanted to adds efficiency. You simply you're incapable because of the technology. That's the big piece of it. And then on top of that, there are some program development components that are important to us. You mentioned the EHV and equine. One of the components for us is making sure that we can interface with private veterinarians, make sure that we can interface with the U.S. Department of Agriculture veterinarians. That takes sort of systems to build and maintain. We have a new requirement for the Food Safety Modernization Act, and how do we manage that from a technology standpoint to interface what happens in plant and food and dairy. So there's part of the increase of $2 million is for system development. The other half, we would say, is for the deployment of software and hardware to allow us to do a more efficient job.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I know other people have more questions.
Yeah.